You yearn for love and for community because your soul remembers what culture tried to make you forget. This specific generation has repackaged love as situationships, as detachment, as nonchalance, when we were made for socialization. We were made for depth, and we were made to experience a human derivative of the love that the God and the creator of the universe has towards us. We are so used to this repackaged, cheaper version of love that this generation and society tries to push, that when we saw a glimpse of what true love is supposed to look like on the show of Love Island, a lot of people grabbed onto it and did not want to let go. There were delusions formed, there was discourse, there was a bunch of stands and vans birthed from those small crumbs of interaction that made me think we genuinely do yearn for the return of real romance, of real love, and of real community. We'll talk about community in a little bit, but let's focus on love for a second. It's so interesting because I have seen most of the seasons of UK Love Island and then 3 now seasons of Love Island USA. And what usually happens is that the way that love is kind of pursued, I want to say love, but it's not love that is pursued on like that show. Love, the way that this generation understands it, is pursued on that show. Is very unconventional. Obviously, you're trapped on an island, you have no contact to the outside world, and your only task is to find a love connection. And so because the show is conducted in an environment where lust is celebrated, and the more modern definition of what is widely commonly known as love and relationships and things like that can flourish, we rarely ever get to see a glimpse of true love, what we actually yearn for. And some of us might not even know cognitively what love is, but we feel it. And so when we watch this particular season, Love Island USA, season 7, there was one particular couple that went on a journey that I believe, and a bunch of other people believe as well, was something so akin to the natural historical journey of falling in love with somebody. And because that was the first time we kind of saw something that spoke to our souls, spoke to our desire, spoke against the modern definition of relationships, of how relationships are supposed to be, and the pursuit of love, people went crazy. It had the whole shebang. You know, it was very natural, even in this unnatural environment. The whole mismatched timing, the obstacles, stolen glances from across the room, and undeniable chemistry. It had all of that. But for us to understand why this couple had the hype that they did, and why their journey, although unconventional, had such a following, we would need to look back at how love is defined in history. Because I genuinely feel like this generation's definition, or what we point at and be like, oh, that's love, or oh, that's relationships, is actually nothing close to the sort, and is a very cheap and almost like sad version of what love is supposed to be. If you see me looking down, I have my notes on my laptop, so don't mind that too much. Let's first start with how love is viewed in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, love was synonymous with devotion. Ultimate devotion. It was synonymous with chivalry, and it quite often, more often than not, had symbols and just themes of self-sacrifice to the woman that you held affections to. In the Middle Ages, marriage for love was not a thing. You married for connections, you married for stability and things like that. And because of that, usually the people who these people would show love to in this utterly devoted, utterly chivalrous and self-sacrificial manner, it was towards mistresses, lovers, and other adulterous affairs. This particular era, like the whole act of dedicating whole sporting events to the person that you love, the showmanship of love, the theatrics of love, that was what love was. Love was to prove your devotion, your emotion, and your self-sacrificial nature and chivalry to the women that you held affections for. It was very expressive. Now, love has been reduced to urge. It's been reduced to urge. It does not take time, because if it takes too much time, that could actually be too close to love. God forbid. All I'm looking for is lust. And that concept, the whole concept of ultimate chivalry, of ultimate devotion, and just taking the time to get to know the person that you held affections for, was called Amour courtois. Amour courtois. I put in my notes as well whilst I was doing my research that in this time period, there was more pride in love that was not easily attained, and one that was difficult to pursue. This generation has the definitions backwards. We're trying to go for a love that is very quick. The things that come very quickly aren't ready. They're not ready. And if you want a half-baked version of something, then get a half-baked version of something. But if you were somebody that is looking and yearning and wanting to love, which I believe we all do, all of us, I don't care what anybody comes and says to me on my channel or in person, or I'm not looking for love. Yes, you are. You are. Whether you despise the fact that you are is none of my business. But I know that biologically, soulfully, you are looking for that. And so for as long as you were looking for that, the way that this generation is pursuing love right now, you will never get it, and you will continue to be unfulfilled. Which is why we are seeing this couple, and this specific couple on Love Island, have little bits of displays of that. And it's so weird because they were not together for for most of the show. All of this happened sort of in the background. There was tons of chivalry, immense levels of chivalry. The love was difficult to attain because the woman in question set her sights elsewhere. The ultimate devotion to the person, like, I'm not going to say that we completely saw that in this show, but I'm going to say that we definitely saw fruits of that in the show. And I think if we are a mosaic of everybody that loved us through time, then one tile in the mosaic that makes us up existed back in this time period where this kind of love was a thing. And so because they exist as part of us, we recognize that in what we're seeing in this particular couple in Love Island USA, and we are clinging to it because it rings true to our soul. Let's then move into the Victorian era, because this era was a little bit more different. In this specific era, the concept of marrying for love was also introduced. In the Victorian era, love was a lot more personal. Back then, in both of those times, people don't date the way that we do. They courted. And so in this particular, in the Victorian era, courtship was a lot more rigid. You had to go through family. If you were a woman, people had to go through the men of your family and just like get through them. Whilst all of that did happen, the thought of marrying for love is very new at this point. So I think that because that thought was very new, the understandings of love in a relationship was very surface level, I personally feel like, because it's very physically based. And although, you know, they have to go through penance and things like that, there is no spending more time trying to understand each other's personalities and likes and dislikes, because back in those days, men and women were not meant to fraternize like that. But then let's compare that to modern day love. Modern day love is less dictated by us as individuals and more dictated by culture and society. There has been so much shifts in love that I've seen, and they have all been due to the internet. We had relationship goals that were trending back in 2016, 2014, and that was very Tumblr-esque. We had the millennials dictating that for us. So it was very friendshipy, bestie kind of love. And now us as Gen Z, now that we are growing up and now that we are the kind of adults, the newer adults, there has been this shift back to, you know, I know conservatism has a part to play in that and stuff like that, but that's not what this video is about. But we have shifted back to the showiness of love. Like, we are yearning for romance. I feel like this generation is. We are yearning for romance, but we don't yet understand it because it was kind of lost in the millennial generation, because theirs was a bestie kind of love. And we don't want to go back to a romance that was in the 1900s, because back then women didn't have a lot of autonomy. We couldn't really decide, and so romance was whatever a man dictated it was. And so we're trying to find the middle ground, find our footing, find what romance is, experience the showmanship and the expression of love. But because we don't understand, we have reduced it to financial provision. We have reduced it to, he flew me out to Bali, got me 1,000 roses for Valentine's Day. We have reduced it to, he takes me out to Nobu every single night, and that's how I know he loves me. The showmanship is there, but we are forgetting the true character of what love is. And I'm not saying that those people that have those kinds of relationships are not experiencing love. Absolutely not. A lot of them are. But there is a hyper focus on the materialistic nature of love because it is tangible. Even besides that, this generation has been in favor, and this is due to a lot of things, but has been in favor of instant gratification, of hookup culture, of transactional relationships, like I said earlier on, and people prioritizing serving themselves and not serving others. And I am going to say I have even fallen victim to that mentality, the idea that a relationship is supposed to serve me and I'm not supposed to serve the other person, because that is what is being force-fed to us in the media that we see. But that is not what true love is, as we have seen in history. Based off of what I'm seeing in the lives of those around me and the capsules of the lives of those on the internet and the sentiments that are echoing throughout this generation, subscription to this generation's definition of relationships and of love is resulting in the quiet and aching death of the hopeful romantic. And this is what we see in Love Island, because this is 21st century love. People are saying that they're coming on looking for love, but what they're actually looking for and pursuing is lust on a leash. And that was what was happening mostly this season, unfortunately. That's why the beginnings of this season was really not that enjoyable for me. Did I tune in every single day still? Yes, absolutely, I did. The modern day views on what relationships are, what romance is, and the sentiments that other people have nowadays towards the opposite sex was very, very clear and very, very prevalent in the way that people were moving in that villa this season. The lack of commitment, the readiness to be intimate with one another, and the quickness to do so, but then very shortly after physically or emotionally discard that person, it wasn't that great to watch. It was very empty, because that's what hookup culture is. It's very empty. But even though all of that was happening, there was literal crumbs of a potential love story literally brimming in the background. That gave people hope, because it's kind of like what was happening in that villa is what is happening in real life. Like, even though a lot of people hold this twisted and just empty definition of what love and relationships are supposed to be, you can still actually find true love in its rawest form. I'm not going to say purest form because of the nature of the show, but rawest form. And that was just a reminder of that. Why do you crave love, actually? I only have 2 main points, and from them I'm just going to expand, and I would love to see what you guys have to say in the comments, because I genuinely want this to be a discussion. I don't really want to be talking at you. But one of the reasons why you crave love is because in this nonchalant world, in this world of nonchalance, dreadhead, cool, calm, collected, you crave passion. In this case of those particular couples, Nicolandria, it was never at the forefront of the show. The lust, the surface levelness, the lack of commitment, the messiness was all at the forefront of the show. It was literally always in the background, and in the glimpses and the crumbs, literal crumbs that we got, we literally saw 2 people in the very raw process of what I believe was falling in love, but low-key refusing to accept it. It's so important to note that love is not an emotion. Love is like a very multifaceted concept. It's not just an emotion, but it isn't devoid of it. You know, love does not exist without emotion. Emotion is in there, but it's not just an emotion. Do you understand? And so because it isn't devoid of it, The emotion part of love is very consuming for the human experience, for us as humans. It is all consuming. And we saw that with Nick in particular. The process of falling in love, the passion that both of those people have, I'm going to say more Nick, that the guy had, was very, very obvious. It made it so much more real. It made it so much more real. I was on Twitter reading what people had to say about this couple. And in those pictures, in those screenshots, in those little crumbs that we had in the show, we saw passion, we saw anger, we saw longing, we saw loyalty, and that was more real than the more common depiction of falling in love that Love Island tries to push. One of my favorite books that describe love has this passage. It was in Songs of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6 to 7. Set me as a seal upon your heart and as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire and the very flame of the Lord. Many waters cannot quench love, and neither can floods drown it. And if a man offered love for all the wealth of his house, he would be utterly despised. You can't buy that. You cannot pretend the rawness and the realness of love. And that was the very, very reason why the internet behaved the way that they did towards those two people. I think the reason why so many people were like, oh my goodness, these are my people. I want to see more of them. Give us more than crumbs. I want to see more. Is because of this nonchalant pandemic that all of us are experiencing now. I don't know who the frick decided that it was popular and attractive for nonchalantness to be a thing, but whoever did, I need you to find them and lock them up immediately. To accept nonchalance is literally to reject the passion that drives love. It's to accept the sticks of love without the fire. And what do you do with sticks? You can't do anything with sticks. According to Merriam-Webster, nonchalant describes someone who is relaxed and calm in a way that shows that they are not worried or don't care about something. Modern dating-related understanding takes that to mean someone who appears not to care at all. Does that sound like love to you? Someone that doesn't care at all. Someone that is unmoved when it comes to you. Does that sound like love? Remember all the historical snapshots of love that we went through, the Middle Ages and the Victorian era. Does that nonchalant sound like it would fit into any of those? In the Middle Ages, where people were quite literally themselves as an act of ultimate devotion and passion for the person that they love, do you think that nonchalance would fit there? And then in the second one, where people would quite literally spend months at a time courting women, trying to get approval from the men of the house, trying to show that they were the best choice for the women, you think nonchalance would fit in there? If you were to pursue someone nonchalantly, you were remaining a bachelor for the rest of your life in the Victorian era. Who on earth would give their daughter to you? So why is it that that was never something that was accepted back then and we are accepting it now? That's all the more reason why these people are clinging onto this couple that we saw on Love Island, because it is redolent of what our soul recognizes love to be. The second reason I believe we crave and yearn for love is because we desperately crave the dance of time. We have lost the patience for things that we cannot get very easily, things that would be cherished a lot more if we took the time to get them. We can take the example of food, making a healthy, holistic meal that is going to really, really be so good for your body, for your brain, your gut health axis, and all of that kind of stuff, and for the future, because actually, I did learn that there's a correlation between poor diet and Alzheimer's. Crazy. It takes time to cook a meal, that is very nutrient dense. Not only does it take the resource of time, but it also takes the resource of money. Certain ingredients or certain things that are really good for our bodies are quite expensive. And so it takes the resource of money to be able to afford those things. And because it takes so much, people have decided to create a substitute. But a substitute will never be as good as the real thing. It is a substitute to cut the cost, cut the time, and fill you up. Filling you up with what? If I take a goose down pillow, a goose feather pillow, take out the pillow. If I fill it with sand, it will still be filled up. Am I gonna get a good quality of sleep? No. My neck's gonna be hurting. It's not gonna give me proper head support. But the bag is still filled up, right? But then ultimately, the longer I sleep on that pillow, the more damage it will do to my body. And so it's the same thing. We are settling for these substitutes in all aspects of life, that we are losing recipes quite literally. And we are accepting substitutes and replacing the real thing for the substitute. Even though we are trying to cut time, we crave the things that need time. Falling in love takes time. The process of discovering somebody is the dance of time. It's not something that can be rushed. If it's rushed, it will be unready. We saw that in this season. We saw that in this particular season. We watched Nicolandria evolve like a book. We saw them page by page get to know one another.
You know what I remember about Bama? Are you a Bama fan?
Auburn fan.
What?
Don't.
Have you been in love before?
In the past, I fell in love with the potential, not the pattern.
I feel like I was in love twice, and they say third time's a charm. They
showed me the world, so.
I love that. Where?
Thailand and like
Really?
Iceland, yeah.
I love Thailand. I went there last year for my birthday.
Really? Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In a very indirect way.
Would you be saying the same thing if I kissed Iris?
It's me too.
They got to know each other as friends, obviously, but in later episodes, just the asking of questions of what they like, what they look for, what they desire, trying to feel them out indirectly. It took time. It was literally a slow burn book. When I tell you it was like a slow burn book, it was like a slow burn book. Those two people danced the waltz of time that ended in the process of falling, what I believe to be, in love. They had fans from episode 1. When they all first came into the villa, you had to make out, as the Americans say, with two people who you would be most interested in coupling up with. The girl's choice. So the girls choose who to make out with. The girl, Olandria, made out with Nick, and then she made out with another person who she ended up coupling up with. So they had fans from that first interaction. And in a 36 episode series, did not get together or explore each other properly and fully romantically until episode 21. I took 36, episode 21, and didn't couple up properly with the intention of fully getting to know one another until episode 30. 6 episodes left till the end. That's when I don't think you guys understand. They spent time trying, unraveling one another whilst also testing out other connections, whilst also going for what they thought was the best choice for them. And the whole 36 episodes, we saw a foundation building, a foundation that would be able to support a relationship that has depth and does not just cover the bottom rungs of Plato's ladder of love, of his amorous scala, which are erotic desire and appreciation for somebody's soul. There's more rungs than that. And I believe that they're truly making their way up. And what we saw with other couples in the villa echoed the rebuttal rhythm of the modern dating world. The instant gratification, the physical intimacy without emotional connection, the hypersexualization of oneself, all in a very nice bowl of lack of commitment. And we saw a particular man choose to dance the waltz of time and be intentional in his patience and desire to pursue somebody. And I think that's why it's being hyped up the way that it is now, and why people are having trouble letting go on Twitter. They're having trouble letting go of this couple, and they want one of them on their screens, because we watched that process. We feel a part of it. We interacted with one another because of them. People bonded over this couple. We all had this shared experience of rooting for two people experience something in its raw form, something that goes against what we commonly have felt that we needed to accept, even though we might have desired more. And because of that, because of the hope, because of the bonding, and because of the personal involvement in terms of time and resources, community was formed. And I remember going on Twitter and seeing people be so sad that on like episode 34, because there was 2 episodes left, and people were like, how are we gonna, I'm so sad, like this having discourse with you guys was so fun, the communities are literally gonna die, like I'm gonna miss talking to you guys. Just the sentiment of sadness was echoing all through that app, because the show was ending and because we weren't gonna see people that brought a group of people together. And it made me think, like, people genuinely yearn for community. And this whole sentiment of hyper individualization and isolation and wanting, not owing anybody anything and having boundaries and things like that, whilst there are some good things that we did well in establishing and taking from that, we have went too far, and we have destroyed communities for Gen Z. And we clearly see, again, our soul recognizes the need for community. We are social beings. We are social beings. We desire to be with one another. We desire to commune with one another, and we desire to experience life with one another. It is not good for man to be alone. It is not good for man to be alone. I think once we got a taste of that, because we don't truly understand how to keep a community, to maintain it, to how to behave within it, there was a lot of like parasocial activity happening. And I think, again, that just made me sad, because it just further pushed the point home that we're lying. Gen Z are lying. We are lying to ourselves. We want love. We want community. And at this glimpse of that, we jumped. This is something to really consider. I make so many videos on how to make friends. I make so many videos on how to grow as a woman and how to develop your mindset and your mentality. And when you are making friends, think about the community that you want to build. When you are thinking about relationships, think about love, and not love in the way that they're trying to push it nowadays, but love the way that it was historically known in its rawest forms. Think about those. Bring those back into your reality. Bring those back into your present, so that you don't have to suffer the fate that they are trying to push onto us of a very shallow, very limited, and a very devoid form of love. And that's it. I am a Nicolandria fan, down and down. You can genuinely be a hopeful romantic in this generation, because love is not dead. Let's bring it into our lives. Let's experience it into our lives. Let's get comfortable and used to the correct definition of love. And so that yearn for it becomes the discovery of it. That yearn for the community becomes the discovery of community. This video was really different from my other videos, but I really just wanted to talk about this because it made me realize a lot of things. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and leave a comment below, any comment. I genuinely want to read what you guys have to say. I read all of my comments, as everybody knows, so go ahead and leave one. If you have any video ideas and suggestions as well, please let me do that. If you like these kinds of videos, go ahead and let me know in the comments as well, because I mostly just do romance, size, and life content, and also self-development and self-improvement for women content. That's all I have to say. I hope you have an amazing day, amazing evening, amazing night, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.